All right, well, it looks like we're live tonight, everybody. Welcome and shalom. We're live tonight on this Monday evening. No, Tuesday. It's got to be Tuesday. I know it is. Yes, Tuesday, July 25th, 2023, 9:36 p.m. Anyway, welcome, everybody. I forgot what day. I figured it was Tuesday. I had to go out of town today. I had to drive somewhere. And um, anyway, I had to drive to a small town today. And anyway, I was gone today, and I kind of forgot what day it was, but it's got to be Tuesday because tomorrow I have another big day, and so I'm trying to get an earlier start tonight, but I don't know. It's 9:35, 9:36. I'm trying to get on at 9 o'clock, and anyway, so here we are. Hey D, how you doing tonight? Good to see D in here. How was your day, D? I hope everything went well on your Tuesday. I had a great day. I had to go out of town today. So I figured, I'm going to have fun with it. There was a little store in this town. So I had to go to Bram, Minnesota. And and I thought, you know what? I remember being in this town before, and there was a little store. It's called Mike's Discount Food, I think. Anyway, the whole store is expired food. I kid you not. The produce, everything in there is expired. So you get like 2 boxes of cereal for $1 or 59 cents each. Um, I got no, I didn't even really eat them, but anyway, I got 2 packages of Oreo type cookies for $1. Um, anyway, it's kind of an interesting place. So I thought, you know what? Since I have to go there anyway, I'm going to have a fun day. And I'm going to stop at that little store because I've been there before. It's so funny. Everything in that store is expired. There are some people in the building who have COVID, so back to wearing masks when I leave the apartment until I get outside. Oh, you guys have to do that, or you just is it mandatory or? So somebody in the building has COVID, so it's kind of like people are kind of expected to wear the mask while you're in the apartment, and then once you get outside, you can take the mask off. Is that right? Like just for the indoors part, I guess. Anyway, they got COVID in July. You know what? Yeah, you have to do that. Yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do. Um, People get pneumonia in the summer too. In fact, a friend of mine has a bad cough, and I'm just hoping she doesn't get pneumonia. Um, but yeah, so sorry to hear that, Dee. I hope they get better well soon. And yeah, I guess you got to do what you got to do. If you live in an apartment, it's just kind of, I don't know, it makes other people feel better, I guess, too. But well, let's hope they get better soon. And anyway, it is always weird to hear people getting sick in the summer, but it happens. It happens. So anyway, but I hope your day went well. Hope everybody's did. I have a fly in my house. Guess what? I figured out how the flies were getting in because all of a sudden I got flies in my house. And at first, hey Grace, shalom to you too. Welcome. In comes Grace incoming. Good to see you. I hope you had a wonderful day. Um, yeah, so I had a little bit of the screen up on my outside door, and I thought that's how they're getting it, but there's just too many. And then I realized in my bathroom window, my dogs can see in my bathroom window. So so anyway, when they're outside, I was in the bathroom one time. And they stuck their head right through the screen and stuck their head in the bathroom. So anyway, that's how the flies are getting in because the bathroom screen they pushed the corner out and stuck their head through it. And I totally forgot about that till I went in there. I'm like, oh crap. That's how the flies are getting. I hate flies in my house. Man, when they touch my food, I gotta throw it away. I don't like that at all. So anyway, I'm on high alert about these flies right now. I gotta kill off what's here and then it should be fine. I shut that window so they don't come in anymore. Man, flies are nasty. They just gross me out. I remember one time, like in elementary school, we were watching like a nature video or whatever, and they showed a fly eating something, and it looked like a bug with an elephant trunk, and the trunk was like spitting on the food and then sucking it up, turning it into liquid, and then sucking up like an elephant trunk. And it was so disgusting, man. I never forgot that. So when I see a fly in my food, I gotta throw that away. And then I heard they poop like every 3 seconds or something. Anyway, don't like the flies. Unique getting to visit you. She's getting rid of those flies. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I used to have a cat. The cat's name was Buzz because he liked flies. He liked the buzzing of the flies, and we named him Buzz. But yeah, I got nobody to kill flies here but me. Anyway, I kept thinking, how the heck are these flies getting in? Anyway, it dawned on me. My dog stuck their head right through the screen in the bathroom. Anyway, poked a hole in they pushed it out in the corner. So I got to get that rubber thing and push it back in. Anyway, so y'all hope y'all had a great day. We're going to look at some doomsday cults. You guys, so I was gone today. Like I said, I had to go out of town today. So I got home and I don't have a lot to time to get everything ready. But I do want to go over some stuff about doomsday cults because we could go on probably for a whole week at least about doomsday cults. So tonight we're just going to kind of do a little bit of reading on some doomsday cults. And one of the things I want to talk about is these doomsday cults. And there's a book, and it's called When Doomsday Prophecies Fail, or something like that. I'm sure you guys have heard of it. When Doomsday Prophecies Fail, or something like that. Anyway, because it's really interesting what happens, and we're going to read a little bit about that tonight. What happens when, like, say, that hero camping in 1988 or whatever, or was it 88? I can't remember. Anyway, so there's a specific date. Say it was May 11th, 1988, or whatever it was. So what happens when all these thousands or even millions of people are on board and they think the world's going to end on May 8th, 1988 and all this? So what happens on May 9th and 10th? What happens once you go past that date? Well, you guys, the weirdest thing happened today before I left to go out of town. And I don't normally do this, but I saw a video from Joseph Aquaviva 2222. And I don't watch him. It's just not my kind of thing. I'm not into the rapture. He's into the rapture. I guess in like 2019, he kind of woke up to, the world and all this stuff and the Bible and all this stuff. So in 2019, so anyway, today he comes on. So he's always got like numbers that match up to like gematria. He does gematria, kind of matches it with the news headings, but then he kind of ties it all in with Obama being the Antichrist and rapture dates and all that. So anyway, not my cup of tea, but I gotta give Joseph respect because even though I believe none of that stuff or whatever, that's his. But to each his own. I gotta say that, to each his own. I'm not judging anybody on anything anymore. I'm not gonna think that I'm right or the Bible's right. I'm not saying anything. I am to each his own. So anyway, a shout out all the more to Joseph Aquaviva because he's the only person with a giant channel that shouted out my Catholic Exposing Evil channel. And I went from stagnating at 100 subscribers on that channel. I mean, I had like 130 channels, 130 subscribers forever on my other channel. It just never grew. I mean, it grew like one per month. Um, and it like took forever to grow. Well, anyway, so Mark Hardy, and him and Joseph Aquavita were a little bit like friendly, the two channels giving each other shout outs. Well, I don't know what happened, but one day I think Mark got jealous of Joseph or something. Anyway, he started bad mouthing Joseph. Now Joseph's channel at the time was like 50,000 subscribers. Huge channel. I don't know what he's got now. He's got like 20,000. I can't remember, but anyway, recently, remember I told you guys like maybe 6 months ago, Joseph had his channels taken out. But when he had 50,000 people, whatever, when he had the falling out with Mark Hardy, I went over on his channel and I said, you should have watched my videos. You would have known who he was. Anyway, so Joseph comes and he watches my videos, and then he threw a few of them out there on his channel with all his massive subscribers. He gave links to my channel, sent everybody over there to show everybody what kind of person Mark Hardy really is, because I got the goods on Mark Hardy. So anyway, as Mark Hardy's attacking him, Joseph sends everybody my way. My subscribers went up. My subscribe. Hey, what are you doing? Idiot, up on the counter. My subscribers like doubled like overnight. I mean, so anyway, I got to give a shout out to Joseph because, I mean, finally that my videos were getting out. You know what I mean? And I had that channel before I had this channel. You know what I mean? There was just kind of and I don't put a lot of videos. It just doesn't grow. So anyway, he just gave my channel the boost. I've never had a boost like that on a channel. And anyway, so I'll always be forever grateful for Joseph. But so I'm not saying anything bad about Joseph. I never will, okay? He wants to do his rapture stuff, let him do his rapture stuff. To each his own. But anyway, so shout out for really, really helped my channel out a lot. He got back at Mark, plus, thank you, Joseph Aquaviva 2222. So, but I am subscribed to Joseph. But I don't watch his videos because I'm just not into rapture stuff or nothing. In fact, at this point, I don't even believe in the end times. All right, I don't even believe in apocalypse. I don't believe in none of this end time stuff anymore. But anyway, to each his own. So, but today, for some reason, I was ready to get out. I had to go out of town today, and just right as I'm ready to leave, he had a video on that says he wants to discuss some stuff about his finances. Okay, so I don't know. I was a little curious, so I started watching him. Well, he kind of took a month off or something, so he just came back, caught up on all the news stories and all that stuff. And then anyway, at some point on the live stream today, he said now he wants to be honest and tell you about his finances, because Joseph quit his job a few years ago. I think it was in 2019. So he realizes or believes it's the end time, like we all do when we read the Bible or whatever. So in 2019, he thinks it's, the end. So like many of us, and I did the same thing in 2016, okay? So again, not digging on anybody. I did the exact same thing. In 2016, I did the same thing. I sold thousands of dollars worth of everything I had. I mean, I just liquidated everything I had, turned it into buckets of food, canned food, water, ammunition, you name it, anything, all survival stuff, thousands of dollars. Then I took a year to fix up my house, and I sold my house, and I moved 100 miles away from the city. I mean, I 100% believed it too. 2016. But anyway, so Joseph, just like me, he in 2019 he believed it was the end of the world. I mean, okay, well, not the end of the world. Let me rephrase that. So he believed the rapture was about to happen. And, a lot of people started like I'm gonna call it waking up. Like all of a sudden you realize, like, wow, they're lying about everything. The food is fake, the news is fake, everything's fake. You know what I mean? So anyway, so he went through the awakening process in 2019, right before COVID. So he said he used to. So um, he used to have a lot of collectibles. Like, I don't know what kind. I've sold collectibles for 20 years. Anyway, I, I sell everything. But anyway, so I know what he's talking about. I don't know if they're, who knows what it was. Things are collectibles. Who knows? It could be anything. But so anyway, he sold all his collectibles, everything he had, and cashed it all in and bought gold and silver because he believed by 2020, I think the rapture would happen. I think he thought the rapture was going to be in 2020 or 2021. I can't remember. But anyway, not really clear if he even said that. But anyway, he believed the rapture was imminent and the tribulation was imminent. So he sold everything, all his collectibles that he had been sitting on, liquidated everything, turned it into gold and silver bars. And of course, in a bunch of survival food and stuff. So anyway, I'm thinking, I guess, whatever. Anyway. So he said that was in 2019, and he quit his job and he started doing this YouTube full time. So he counts on the YouTube, and he says on every video, if you can donate, it helps because he's married, he's got 4 kids, he does this decoding stuff full time now. He doesn't have a regular job anymore. So anyway, so 2019, I think 2020 maybe when he started his channel, I don't know, but now it's 2023, and he said. And, I got to give him credit because he manned up and he said, I got to be honest. I thought we would be gone by now. I thought we'd be raptured a long time ago. He didn't plan on being here in 2023, and here we still are 3-4 years later. So what he did, he's been living on cashing in his gold and silver that he bought, and he sold everything he had. I think he said he had like $8,000 or $10,000. I can't remember. So over the last few years, he's gotten some money off the channel, but mostly living off cashing in his gold all the time. So anyway, he says it's down. He cashed it all in. It's down to $1,000 to his name of gold, and he just doesn't even know what to do. He said, I didn't think I was still going to be here, and that's the thing, man. I mean, most people don't admit that. So I got to give him credit for that. He admitted that I didn't plan financially to be here 3 years from after he thought. So he thought they'd be raptured a few years ago. So now he's scrambling, cashing in every last thing he's got. And now he's thinking, does he have to go back to work and get a full-time job? Does he have to get a part-time job? So he's asking people if they can donate. But in the meantime, he really doesn't know what he's going to do because he's never really made enough off his channel to survive. And, and then he said, and in the midst of all this, they moved from one place because it's a family of 6. So they moved from one place they're renting, and the person sold the house, whatever they had to move to another house, and it doubled in rent. So they said all the bills went up and the money went down, and he said, I gotta be honest, I didn't think we'd still be here, so I don't know what to do. I have out of money. And you know how many people that probably happens to? And we can see if we study these doomsday cults, this happens to a lot of people. And something I'm going to read tonight. And you know what else? I mean, like me, in 2016, I cashed in everything I had. I mean, I just sold everything I had. Plus, I was going to move and sell my house and stuff, and I had to get money to completely remodel my house inside and out before I sold it, so I could get a lot of money. And so I cashed in like $7,000 of collectibles myself. I did the same thing Joseph did. And I bought a bunch of food, and I bought a bunch of beans and rice and all that kind of stuff. And, now it's been, let's see, 17, 18, 19, 20, 20. Now it's been like 7, 8 years. All the canned stuff has been in the trash. even when I moved up here in 2019, I still was buying tons of stuff because my other stuff was expired. And then when COVID hit, it really did seem like the apocalypse. It seemed like Book of Revelation's coming true. We have to wear the mask of the beast in order to buy or sell, and it just seems like, wow, all the prophecies unfolding. It's like, but actually, what it did is, at first I thought the same thing, but then I thought, wait a minute, things aren't making sense here. You know what I mean? So actually, kind of about a year into COVID is when I realized, wait a minute, this ain't no apocalypse. This isn't the book of Revelation. In fact, yeah, it just, what I saw in 2020, after 2021, what I saw was a simulation of the end times. I see the government, or whoever it is, who's ever doing this, I see them, the TV using everything to make a simulation of the book of Revelation, like simulating the end times. You know what I mean? I think it's a simulation. And you can do it easy. If you're in control of everything that goes on TV, radio, news, um, music, you name it, news stories, everything, conversations. If you're in charge of everything, the information flow, heck yeah, you could make people think you're in the book of Revelation. And that's, I think, exactly what they did. And then the more I thought about it, it just wouldn't even make sense. None of it makes sense. And the more I studied the Bible, that's another thing. As I'm using my critical thought process, my I'm trying not to dissociate from reality when I'm reading the Bible. I mean, you gotta. So what I'm seeing with my eyes and when I'm reading in the Bible, is getting further and further and further apart. It's like, no way, we can't be in the book of Revelation. In fact, anyway, I to me it just seemed like they want everybody to think that we're in. You know why? Because look around, the Christians are throwing their hands up saying, well, it's meant to be. If the government puts us all in cages, we're just going to go willfully. And if they want to chop our heads out, good. They can chop our heads off. We're going to go proudly in our death. And like, okay, this sounds very convenient. If the government wanted everybody to do what they want, this is how they would do it. Anyway, so so there is a book, and I haven't read it, but I'm sure a lot of people heard about it. It's a book called I forgot what it was. Anyway, I'll come across it here somewhere. But anyway, it's about like what happens on once that apocalyptic date passes. Well, I'm gonna read some stuff, and it sounds just like YouTube. Exactly. Some people either just say it was like Hero Camping or whatever that date was. I can't remember who it was. The guy who said May 11th, 1987 or whatever it was. So once May 11th passes, so what happens? Well, we saw what happened. Most people were so angry and they just fell away. But you had about, I don't know, a third of the people or quarter of the people that stood by Harold. And so what Harold did is say, wait a minute, I did miscalculated. It's not May 11th this year. It's actually next year on this date. And so he actually had some people stood by him until the next year. And then when the next year happened, then they're like, all right, it's it. But it's just weird how different people cope with, like, the reality has to set in. When does reality set in? Like, okay, wait a minute, it's not the end of the world. Now what you do, and I'm going to read some of this stuff because now you have to go and admit to every single person that you have tried to convince it was the end of the world. You have to, well, first of all, you have to admit that whoever convinced you this was wrong, whether it's Harold Camping or Mark Hardy or whoever it is, who's ever convinced you it was the end of the world, or if you convince yourself, you got to admit that they were wrong. And because most people idolize these leaders, and so even when they're wrong, they say, well, no, it must be that God's calendar is off, or it's 1,000-year thing, or anyway, they'll make up any excuse for their false prophet. I mean, you see it all the time on YouTube with Mark Hardy, especially. He can have a false rapture date every month, and people just make excuses and look for the next date. You know what I mean? So anyway, it's just weird how people react. So there is a book, and it's called I can't remember still. Something like after what happens when prophecy fails, or something like that. So anyway, it's a different way people react, and a matter of fact, so yeah, so now you yourself have to face reality that, wow, I have to go back to my regular life and go, and I'm not gonna die, because these doomsday people and the people are waiting for rapture and people are waiting for the apocalypse. On this, you have been looking at your death clock. You're waiting to die. And I hear people all the time. I wonder, am I going to die by beheading, or am I going to starve to death? How am I going to die? I wonder how I'm going to die. I mean, think of how that is to spend your life wondering stuff like that. Like, good grief. Especially from my point of view, it's not going to happen in any of our time. If anything ever happens, it's going to be in a flash, like those mud flood things where everybody's just, the animals are in mid chew of their grass, and they're still chewing the grass when they're fossilized, and it's just, I think stuff like that happens where there's just all of a sudden, bam, an event. But as far as like, and just in so many ways, it just started to not make sense anymore. It started to not make sense, especially like if you look at now, I don't know if it's like Albert Piker, but anyway, these people who are running the show here, the people at the top of the pyramid who run the world, the ones who want you to think it's the end of the world, so you just roll over and give up and just get ready to die. Because I mean, how good is that? Pay your taxes and roll over and get ready to die and do what they tell you. And if you try to stop the powers that be from taking over, then the other Christians will say, no, don't stop it. It's God's will. You're trying to go against prophecy. Like, I mean, it's so perfect how they made it. You know what I mean? So if you try to if you're the only Christian out there that's trying to stop something, then you're going to get boo. What are you doing? You're trying to stop God's. You're going against God. Quit trying to stop the government from controlling us and putting us in cages. Anyway, it's just crazy. But yeah, so now you got to go back to your life, and you know what I mean. And the reality should set in, like if, and this is so unbiblical too, to be stocking up on food, you guys. I know, because I used to say it. I was one of the first that I've ever seen on YouTube saying, well, and this was back in 2016. I'd say, well, Joseph stocked up food for the 7 years of plenty, and then they had 7 years of famine. And Joseph stocked up food in warehouse, and then and on Noah's Ark, he stocked up for the animals and stuff. So they were both prepping. But wait a minute. First of all, I won't even get into the Noah's Ark story. But if you take it at face value, that's when every single person except 8 people died. So that really doesn't apply to you. And we don't have a ship with animals and all that stuff. And we don't have God handing us blueprints every day and telling you what wood to use and how to pitch the door. All right, so that's not us. And if you're going to refer to Joseph stocking up, just think about this. Joseph was second in charge of Egypt. Joseph worked for the government. They're storing government warehouses full of grain. That's not us. It's like comparing yourself to the military. Well, the military stocked up, millions of warehouses full of grain and food and canned sea rations. Well, yeah, but that's them. We're not the government. Now, I'll tell you one thing. You can stock up all the food till it hits your ceiling. And guess what? 99 times out of 100, when war comes, and if war happened in the United States, we would all be on foot walking as refugees to the nearest safety. And all you can do is carry what you can carry. Canned foods ain't going to cut it, man. They're heavy, and you can carry maybe 20 cans, and for you anyway. So all you can stock up all the food you want and supplies, and you know what? You're probably going to get run out of your house anyway. And all these people are stocking up food. Do you have any backup plan if you get run out of your home? Because I tell you what, they can drop off 100 city people out in the country, like like that, or on an island like Survivor or whatever that show was, and see how long they last. And probably 99 of 100 would die just out of mosquito bites and not knowing how to eat. So you know, anyway, and so stocking up food, you know what they've done for thousands and thousands of years. What they've done, they grew their own food. No, you won't be carrying much. You'll maybe have a backpack. Um, and so nobody's got these days. Nobody's got survival skills. Even a ex-military with survival skills is gonna not have fun out there. Military trained guy is not gonna have fun. City folks, they're probably gonna try to be offing themselves because they can't take it. When hit with war, my sister-in-law carried her baby. The only valuable she was concerned. Absolutely. And that's what you do. You grab what you can, make sure you got your kids and pets or whatever, and you take off on foot. And that's what's going to happen. So you can store up all the food you want. You know, like me, after year, mine went right. And you know what? Just think about this. Think about this. How many times in the Bible does it say, don't worry about tomorrow? Tomorrow has cares of its own. Don't worry what you're going to eat for tomorrow. The God will provide what you're going to eat for tomorrow. Don't worry what you're going to eat for tomorrow. And that's what all these Christians are worried about, what they're going to eat for tomorrow. Like, okay, you need to get back into your Bible and trust God. You're not Joseph. You're not the head of the government, okay? Storing up government warehouses full of grain. That's not you and me. Yeah, the military might be doing it. They might be storing up, but that's not us. It's not even realistic. So stocking up food is ridiculous. What everybody's done for thousands of years is you grow food as much as you can, you earn whatever you can, and you work real hard all summer. And then what you do is you stock your pantry constantly. And so you go down your pantry, you can your foods, you can stuff out of your garden, you grow and you produce as much as you can. You can't produce it all. You buy your sugar, flour, whatever. But anyway, what they would all do is stock up their pantry. So at all times, everybody would have about a year's worth of food. You got beans, you got canned stuff, you got all kinds of peaches, pears, you got all kinds of stuff canned. All right, so most people always had about a year's worth of food in their cellar. This is normal. Now, today, if somebody went back into the 1500s, 16, 1700s, they went back into time and looked in somebody's pantry and say, whoa, you're a prepper. They would have no idea what you're talking about. No, it's normal for everybody to have a pantry full of food that you are constantly. But if you think you're going to stock up on 3 years of food or even a year's worth, I mean, and just think about it. So you're going to get run out of your home and you're not going to have anything anyway. It will all eventually, like mine did, it all expired. Your canned food, within a year, your canned food's expired. Within a year and a half, it's all expired. And I had canned roast beef and canned chicken and canned tuna and all these cases and cases of canned meats and fish. And I eventually started opening up and giving it to my dogs and my cats. They like it. But now it's pretty much, I'm whittled down, and anything that wasn't expired, I gave it away because it's about to expire. And just think of this. Just think of in the book of Numbers when the Israelites came out of Egypt. They came out of Egypt and God was providing manna. He was raining down manna, which is this white little like quarter seed looking, the little white balls. Anyway, they were bored with that. They wanted meat and they wanted quail and they wanted the good stuff they used to have back in Egypt. And anyway, but when God was providing the manna, what did he say? Only only gather up what you need for today, only one day. And if you try to gather up 2 days worth, worms are going to, well, they did. Some people tried to gather up 2 days worth, and God would make sure that the worms were all over it. So if you tried to gather up more than one day at a time, it would turn rotten and worms would be in it. So, and then when Sabbath came, God wanted everybody to rest for a day. He told you to, now you can gather up 2 days, but no more. So anyway, I think of that story when I think of my food that got rotted, because I stored up more food than I needed until it rotted. You know what I mean? And I think of that story in Numbers where God, like, if you try to store up too much, it's going to rot, and it's shame on you. If you got food with worms coming out, that means you hoarded it. You hoarded it. You gathered up too much. You were not trusting about tomorrow. You know what I mean? Well, hey, April. Hey, April, how you doing tonight? Good to see you. Casey got his fan club to attack Joseph. He got his challenge taken out. Yeah, he did. His source of income for the family, Justice Beast. He did. Casey, Enter the Stars, was very jealous of Joseph, and he did. He got Joseph's channels taken down. Why? Because I don't know. Didn't agree on something. Who knows? I don't know what the excuse was, but for to take a man's channel down, he did. He's got 4 children and a wife, and he's trying to support his family. And Casey, who's single, just pull the rug out from under him. Like I said, I don't agree with people, but for each his own. And if he wants to make a living for his family making videos, let him do it. Hey, April, good to see you. I've had a plan. I have a medical bag, and I have been learning about what weeds we can eat. I'm teaching grandchildren survival skills. That's good. But as far as like carrying stuff, and as a matter of fact, back when I lived in the city before I moved up north, there's my drunk neighbor coming home, probably looking for a garage to smash through. Anyway, so I had a bug out plan. I had a 3-wheel bicycle. I had just sold it. It was a Schwinn from the 70s, and it was a 3-wheel bike, and it had a big basket on the back. And then I bought a Aussie. It was called an Aussie. It was I ordered off Amazon for $150. It was a heavy duty cargo trailer for my bicycle. So I figured when the city comes under attack, I'm going to put Spencer in the trailer and Sprout, and then all of our food and stuff. And if I can get, I had a plan where I had like a getaway, even if we had to go on bicycles. But anyway, I don't even think about that anymore. I just don't believe it's going to happen in our time. I just don't believe any of this is going to happen. I really don't anymore. It really is kind of a load off to quit worrying about the end of the world, because I personally don't think it's going to happen. I do not. I was 100% convinced where I sold my house, moved away, and like I said, liquidated everything I had into Doomsday stuff, and I've either sold it, it's gotten rotted, or I've given it away. Or now what I do have, I have a dual fuel generator, and that's if the power goes off for a little while. It runs off propane and or gasoline as dual fuel. I've got some lanterns that also run off gasoline or kerosene, and so I got stuff like that in case there's power outages for a little while. But yeah, I stopped believing in all that, and I just got back to living my life. You know what I mean? Yeah, not watching the news does help. Yes, because that news is designed to make everybody think that we're in the tribulation. It is mind control, and it's called programming for a reason. They say, okay, now we return to our regularly scheduled programming, because they're programming people to think it's the end days. They're programming people for a lot of stuff. Ironic the way these people who shut down other people's free speech also complaining about being silenced. They are part of the silence. Exactly. Listen, if you want to whine about being censored on YouTube or getting strikes or getting warnings or not being able to say, but then you want to stop somebody else from um, putting out content too, especially out of jealousy. That was he was totally jealous of Joseph. He had to come up with a all of a sudden he's got to come up with a legit reason why he wants to take the channel down. And anyway, yeah, I don't agree with that. Um, but now if you get around people, I don't worry, God will be with it. Yeah, man, but and if you think about it, really think about it from their point of view, okay? Think about it from the people who run this world. Now, if listen, if you're the controllers and the people running all the little, what do they call us? The or whatever. They call us the whatever. So they're all running us. Now, the worst thing that can happen to them is to pull the plug on all of us, take away electricity, and because right now the only thing that keeps everybody in check, uh, in line, is that television and the radio and all that stuff. So with if they pulled the power, it would only take about 3 months. A bunch of people would die, and then what would happen is people would start getting used to having no power and just pick up where they left off, like during the 1800s. All right, people adjust to it. People would get over their cell phones and all their stuff. And actually, that's the last thing they want people to do. They have to have these phones working and your TV. Can you imagine if all the TVs went off and people could think straight after a couple days? Nah. And then they started actually talking to each other and all this other stuff and like being independent thinking and start deprogramming. That's why, I mean, if you ever try to quit cable or whatever, they'll like beg you to come back. And I mean, it's just like they have to keep the programming in order to, it's almost like um a whole field full of kids playing soccer or whatever, and you got the coach with the whistle. If you don't have that coach, they're going to do whatever you want. So you got to have somebody calling the shots. You know what I mean? Because as soon as somebody starts calling the shots on the TV and influencing everybody, and people start thinking independently, and they can't have that. And you know what? There's not enough cages to put everybody in. And who's going to put everybody in cages? Who's going to put the Christians in cages? Other Christians? You know what I mean? That makes no sense. If you got 80% of the country is Christian, you can't put 20% of the people can't put 80% of people in cages. And now that there's not enough cages, so they have to control us with fear. And they have to control us all out of our own homes. And they have to keep everybody comfortable. And that's why right now they're doing the opposite. They're not planning on running everybody in the woods. And you know what? By the way, when I was looking to where I was going to move out of the city, I wanted to crawl under a bush and dig a hole and have an underground mud hut because I thought they were going to get us. And but just think about it. When I was looking on Google Maps for a place to live, I was looking for the most wilderness place that nobody could go. But you know what? No matter where you go, there are drones. I'm out in the middle of nowhere, and there is a drone every night in the same place. It drives. My sister told me about these drones back in the 90s because I'm up in Pine County, Minnesota, and I'm up in the sticks. And there's farmers up here, and up here is where people used to get anhydrous ammonia, and that used to make methamphetamine. So the meth addicts, the people who were making methamphetamine, would come up here into farmland and sneak out in the farmer's field and steal anhydrous ammonia. If they didn't die from it, then they would make anyway. And sometimes so they started My sister thought they started putting drones up to stop these people from stealing anhydrous ammonia, but I don't know what they put them up there. But that was in the 90s. You guys, I moved up here. First thing I noticed is before the stars come out, there's a drone, and you can see it. When it starts to get dark out, you can see it. It's a drone, kind of floats around a little bit, blinks a little bit. You know what I mean? It looks like a star, but it's not a star. It moves around, and it's there before the stars come out and after the stars go away. You know what I mean? So it is definitely a drone, and so if you look on a Google image, they could fly over and catch any one of us. If it's during the winter time, you cannot survive without a fire up here. All they would, in 2 seconds, they could fly over a forest and spot you in a second building a fire. So if people think they're going to go out to the wilderness and survive, are you kidding? You're going to be spotted like you're going to stick out like a sore thumb. They're going to fly over and see you in 2 seconds. And people say, "Well, I got that tinfoil. I got that saran or that tinfoil stuff, and you put it over the top of you, and they can't. It's not heat seeking. Are you going to live under a piece of tinfoil the rest of your life? You can't do it. You know what I mean? Anyway, people got to get real. There's nowhere to go, and they don't want you to go anywhere. That's why the government. That's why the government is building all these inner city apartment buildings. They want to pack people into these cities, inner cities, to control everybody, have everybody on cameras 24/7, every inch of, no matter where you go. They want to control your money, they control your movements, control what you eat, control what you watch, everything. They want 100% control of everybody, and that's why they're herding people into the cities, giving people great deals on these apartments and stuff, and free cable and all this incentives for people that's getting these high-rise apartments, stack them just like China and just like Japan, where they call them rabbit hutches. These people are in little rabbit hutches houses, and you could reach your hands out to touch the walls. And these people are what like that one guy said, you're gonna own nothing and like it. Does that sound like they're gonna put us through tribulation and we're gonna be living in the woods eating bugs? They're gonna have you in an apartment building. You're not gonna own anything, but you're gonna be happy. You're gonna have free cable. They're gonna give you free food, or your free electricity. You're just gonna have to play video games all day, eat as much food as you want, and you're gonna own nothing. You're gonna be happy. That's what they want everybody. Mindless slobs that can't even get off the couch and can't think for yourself, and just feed you fluoride and douse you with fluoride and chemicals and medications and food and garbage and you know what I mean, and 5G rays and all this other crap, and get you sick and just in the whole. And you know what? When I said when the Georgia Guidestones went down, I'm the only one that I've ever heard say this. The reason I think that they went down is because it's mission accomplished. The very first one said to maintain the population on their 10 commandments, maintain the population under whatever it was, 150 million or whatever it was. And well, once they just treated 70% of the people on the planet, mission accomplished. There's not going to be a population problem 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. Because if you've noticed, less and less people are having children, less and less people are reproducing. I mean, and anyway, so and something I've said for years is this is their motto: slow kill is better than no kill. They don't mind waiting and slow killing everybody. In fact, they like when you kill yourself, when you eat yourself to death and get yourself on medications and more medications and more medications. And you're spending every week, you got a doctor's appointment. You got to go to CVS and Walgreens on the way and get your medications and blah, blah, blah. They got you right where they want you. And that's really what the plan is. They're not going to, I mean, anyway. And you know what? If you've been here for a while, we've gone over the book of Revelation, and I unraveled that thing like a cheap sweater. It fell apart in seconds. So no, I don't believe anything about the book of Revelation before. I used to, man, you guys know, I studied that thing. I had headphones on. I had notebooks. I mean, remember that one December where I fasted for 30 days and studied the book of Revelation. I had all these epiphanies, and it just kind of actually one led to the next, led to the next, led to the next. I'm thinking, wait a minute, what the heck is this? And once you understand it, it's then the once you understand where the book of Revelation is coming from, it's no longer a threat. You know what I mean? It's no longer scary. It's no longer impending doom. It's like and I wish I could just give people a big hug and say, you know what? It's not the end of the world. Get back to living your life. Quit worrying about how you're going to die, when you're going to die. Die, 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 die. Everyone's going to die. And then you got to think about, oh, my family, oh, they're going to be all be dead. And I'm going to say, I told you so. And I told you it was the end of the world. And they're just going to say, yeah, we should have believed you. And I was just like, all these things that have to go through your head if you believe it's the end of the world. And you know what's really a psychological mind, a mind screw is that when you're the only one who knows the truth. And no, actually looking back, no, you're the only one who believes what you believe. But at the time you think, I'm the only one that knows the truth. All these other people have no idea. I'm going into Walmart, I'm buying like, 5 50-pound bags of rice and, getting a second cart for the beans I'm going to bag up and thinking, oh, you people, you have no idea. You're all about to die. I'm the only one in this whole store that, look at you guys. You're buying frozen pizzas and you have no idea. You should be buying beans and rice. And I'm thinking, I'm the only one in this whole store that knows what's going on. And no, I was the only one in the whole store who was drinking the Kool-Aid. Okay. And speaking of drinking the Kool-Aid, Jim Jones, all those cults thought it was the end of the world. And you know what? And it's something that we're going to be going over, because I'm not going to be probably reading anything tonight. I'm just going to talk. Because when I get off of here, with Russia holding on to grain, that will lead to a famine in third world countries soon. Yeah, but third world countries have been starving forever. They've never had food. They're used to not having food. They've been starving since I was born. I've never remembered the third world countries having any food anyway. And you know what? And in order to believe that, we have to believe what they're saying on the news. And remember, Obama, during the Obama administration, they passed a law, and it's called something like the propaganda law. And it gives them a right to lie on the news. So there's a law that Obama passed, propaganda law, and it gives the news stations, the government, a right to give false news reports if they believe it's in our best interest. So there's a law that Obama passed in Congress. It's an active law that says if they want to tell lies on the news, they can, and they pass that law. And so just think about that. And we know that they tell lies all the time. And they've actually passed a law to make it legal for them to do that. And most people don't even know that law got passed, because what they do, they'll pass these type of laws during like the Super Bowl, when not one person cares about the rest of the news. They all care about the Super Bowl. Like on that day is when they'll like pass these laws that are just taking all the rights away and everything. But yeah, as far as I say, everybody, you should go out and plant a tree. And 5 years from now, like I did 5 years ago, I thought it was the end of the world, and I still planted trees. And guess what? I'm picking fruit off my trees this year, because guess what? Just in case it wasn't the end of the world, I planted trees. And guess what? 5 years ago, and now I got fruit coming off my trees. And and I want to say one more thing before I so Well, actually, a couple more things. But okay, I just saw something else. So first of all, I want to say, if somebody walked up to you, like if you believe that we're in the end times and we're about to go into tribulation, if I walked up to you and said, "Oh, you think it's the end of the world and we're coming into tribulation and the great tribulation?" And you said, "Yeah." And I asked you, what if I said, "Give me 5 reasons why we're in the end time." What would those reasons be? Or even give me 3 reasons why you think 3 reasons why you think it's the end times. What would you say? I don't care how many reasons you get. You know, and for people to think that the food prices went up means the black horse is riding, or so, you know, famine. Are you kidding? Are you kidding? I've showed pictures where people have wheelbarrows of money, wheelbarrows filled with money coming out of the bank, and it's cheaper to throw it into the furnace to cook off of than it is to go buy firewood. The money was worthless. I've shown pictures where they're actually taking the money and little kids are cutting it up and making pictures with it, or they're making dresses out of it, or they're burning it. Like I said, burning it to light the stove or to heat their houses with. It was cheaper to throw thousands of dollars worth of money into your furnace than it was to buy a pile of wood. Um, so that's. I mean, if that wasn't tribulation, if that wasn't famine, if that wasn't. I mean, are you kidding? A penny a penny for a day's, so a penny for a loaf of bread. A penny for a day's wait for a quart of barley is what it takes to make a loaf of bread. Okay, so when they say a penny for a quart of barley, they're saying a penny for a loaf of bread. Okay, so in other words, it's like $100 for a loaf of bread, right? Well, are you kidding? Those people paid $10,000 for a loaf of bread, and it still wasn't the tribulation. So if you think a little bit of price, and you know what? The prices went up higher. These prices went up way higher when Jimmy Carter was in office back in the 70s. If you look at, because I know during, don't tell me, I already know everything A to Z, from building materials to food to gas to clothes. There's not one thing that didn't double in price since COVID. So you look on the graph. We had normal prices, normal price. You get to 2020, it shoots straight up in the air. Everything went straight up inflation. Not even close to what has happened before. In fact, this is what happened in the 70s with Jimmy Carter. So what happened? The prices shot whip up, 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 up. That's called inflation. Then all of a sudden it gets like a roller coaster. It gets to the top and it goes flat. That's stagnation. And then it starts going down. That's deflation. And then it goes level again. That's stagnation. And then it goes down real fast, and that's deflation. It does that about every 20 or 30 years or 40 years. Go look back in the history of the times where it inflated, and that's exactly what it's doing now. I said this during COVID. What it's going to do, it's going to go up, or about a year ago, maybe a year or so, I showed this on a graph. It's going to go way up, and this is exactly what it's done. It's gone way up, it leveled off, it started to come down, leveled off again, and now it's going to drop, and it's going to go back to normal prices. I mean, look at the gas here was almost $5 a gallon. It was $5 some places. Now it's something about $3.50 a gallon, whatever. During COVID, it was $1.70 a gallon. It's like the lowest it was for everyone. Because nobody was driving. Everybody was locked down. They're working from home, so they just control the prices on everything. But you will never get near what they did in the 1920s when they're coming out of the banks with, like I said, wheelbarrows loading up pickup trucks full of bundles of dollar bills. And they were taking those dollar bills and letting the kids play with them. They were throwing them in the fire to keep warm. The money was worthless. And it was overnight, too. And as a matter of fact, I told you guys years ago, that lady from Russia, she was a doctor. Now listen to an interview of her. She lived in Russia when they had a total economic collapse. So one day she's working as a doctor. She's got $100,000 in the bank, just like these doctors here. They're going to work, got $100,000 in the bank. Overnight, she said everything collapsed overnight in Russia. She said we all kept going to our regular jobs. She kept going as a doctor to her job. They just hardly got anything. Everybody got pennies of what they're getting. And she said during her lunch break, they would go out and forage trying to find mushrooms to eat or something to eat off the ground or in the plants or whatever, and then go back to work. And she said, my money in the bank, I went from it, like, say she had, $50,000 in the bank. She said she went down overnight to, 15 cents. She had no money, pennies. And she was very wealthy overnight. And she said eventually it took years, but they kind of they came together as a group, like community. They came together. They started bartering with each other. They kind of built civilization back up themselves. But her skills as a doctor came in, and she could barter and you get food, and everybody just started bartering like the old days. And to tell you what, that's the last thing the United States wants to happen. Okay, have a good day with your son. Good night, Grace. Good to see you tonight. I'm at 1 hour. I'm gonna get off here too and say good night. But anyway, have a great time with your son. Tell him we said hi. Love, prayers to you too. You lucky duck. She gets to visit with her son. I wish my son was knocking on the door. But anyway, good night, Grace. But yeah, I really, it makes me sad to see all these people living with impending doom. Like, always thinking death is at the door. Death is at the door. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. Because you stop living and you start preparing to die. It's no different than getting a diagnosis of a terminal cancer. You got 6 months to a year to live. Nobody wants to be in that position, right? It's like everybody's worst nightmare to get a diagnosis where you got 6 months to a year to live. Well, that's what you're doing. People are self-imposing that death sentence on themselves. Oh, I've got 6 months, maybe a year to live until we're all dead. And it's just like, and just think about it. It's not even like you just got cancer. It's like everybody in the whole world's going to die in 6 months. No, it's no way to live. I wish people would get back to living, and because they're being robbed. They're being robbed of your happiness and your joy in your life and your potential for what you could be doing. You know what I mean? Worrying about dying. All right, good night, everybody. Yep, I'm gonna sign off, and I gotta get some paperwork done before I go to bed. So, anyway, all right. Thanks for coming in, guys. Good to see you tonight, April. Good to see you, Grace. Good to see you, Dee, and anybody else that came in. Thanks for coming in, and if you're listening, thanks for listening. And if you're joining us on the replay, thanks for joining on the replay. And anyway, I want to say good night. Thanks everybody for coming in, and anyway, have a great rest of the day. Have an awesome Wednesday. Have a good hump day, everybody. Good night. Shalom. God bless, and peace.